This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
It's the Sunday edition. It's following a 9-game Saturday. Get you set for early action on Sunday. Only 4 games, but it starts early. And there's some good matchups on Sunday. There's some really good matchups on the schedule this week. We'll talk about that. And we'll get you caught up on all the latest in the National Hockey League. Momentarily, Amanda Stein will join us, New Jersey Devils all-access host and reporter. Get you the latest on the Devils. They suffered a loss at the hands of the Philadelphia Flyers on Saturday. Tom Guilitti from NHL.com, covering the entire Northeast, will also be with us in hour number one. And one of the hottest teams in the National Hockey League, the Boston Bruins, victorious over the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday. Joe Haggerty will join us as well. And of course, it's Sunday, and that means Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, will be with us for this week's Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5. Get you a little help, a little suggestion or two for your fantasy hockey pool, something that might provide you with a little scoring, little defense, little goaltending, whatever is on the Fantasy 5 this week, a little help from Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. I don't know if he can help you with a goaltender that doesn't let in 3 in the blink of an eye, the way Martin Jones did for me last night, but we'll see what Steve's got for us later on. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. We are here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com. Also streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, available now at the App Store. Jumping right into the guests, straight off the top here, because we want to get the latest on the New Jersey Devils. Amanda Stein, the Devils all-access reporter and host. You can and should be following her on Twitter at Amanda C. Stein for lots of info on the New Jersey Devils, as well as her travel travails. Amanda joins us now. You are home safe and sound. I think there was a tweet a couple of days ago, Amanda, you said that I just want to be home now because you were having difficulty traveling.
Yeah, I went to my hometown of Montreal for the bye week, and it took me a while to get to my home state of New Jersey. But I did eventually make it by way of Philadelphia and a train and a path train. But I made it safe and sound and in time for the first game back from the bye week.
We're pleased. We've all experienced that at different times in terms of travel, but we're pleased that you're safe home safe and sound right now. I want to dive into this New Jersey Devil thing though, because they finished the first half of the NHL regular season just prior to the bye week, kind of on a down. They had lost a number of games, and I thought that a few days off, a few days away is maybe exactly what the Devils need. They had a great run through the first half of the season, but then they come back in the game yesterday against Philadelphia and they suffer another loss. And I know this is something that nobody wants to continue. They've been one of the great stories in the first half of the year. What did you see in the game yesterday that was part of the difficulty that the Devils had against the Philadelphia Flyers?
Well, I saw what we've been seeing over this winless streak, this 6-game winless streak, and that is a strong first period and then a change in momentum in the second with a couple of bad shifts that then end up costing the team. It just seems that every time there's an error by one of the New Jersey Devils right now, it ends up in the back of their net, and they haven't been able to control the momentum of the game the way that they did at the beginning of the season. And one of the things at the beginning of the season that they were doing is whenever there was a mistake or there was a lapse in judgment in terms of a play, they were able to correct it really fast. And Taylor Hall said something really interesting yesterday to me after the game and said that good teams are able to correct their mistakes quickly and then right the ship. And it just seems that right now they're a little off course and still young, that they're learning their way.
Is there one thing in particular that they should or focus on or need to focus on, or is it differing from game to game, which I suspect is even more frustrating for Taylor Hall and the rest of the team?
I think that it's a mixture of the two things. One of the areas of their game that was really strong at the beginning of the year that helped them win their game was their special teams. They had a really strong penalty kill and a really strong power play. And right now, those two areas of their game are letting them down. Yesterday, I believe they were 2 for 7 on the power play. And then on the penalty kill, the first 2 opportunities that they had to kill off penalties, they let in 2 goals. So those 2 areas, their special teams have really been letting them down over the course of this winless streak. And that's an area I would imagine that we're going to see a lot of focus on it today and tomorrow's practice. Keep in mind, one of the things about a long NHL season is that there's not a lot of time to buckle down and practice because you're just constantly playing games and you want to save your legs. Well, right now, coming out of the bye week, there was 1 practice at 4 o'clock on Friday. They played a game against Philadelphia last night, and now they have the luxury of two days here where it's just simply practice. And so I think that will help benefit this NHL team.
What was the word from some of the players after the bye week? I'm sure everybody liked the rest and having a few days off. That's great. But as you mentioned, it's an unusual schedule that teams are allowed. They'll get 1 practice, but not until the afternoon of the day before the break ends, and then they dive right back into games. That can be difficult, getting reacclimated to the NHL grind, to the NHL pace and speed at times. What was the verdict of the players after experiencing the bye week and then having 1 practice and diving into games?
Well, I think they were happy to have the bye week because they were on the winless streak to just rejuvenate, get away from the game, and then reacclimatize. But the thing is you're absolutely right. There isn't a lot of time to get your legs back, and we saw that with the Devils yesterday. They were a bit slow. They were a bit sluggish, and for all intents and purposes, so were the Philadelphia Flyers. They were also coming off their bye week, and I think the NHL did it right this year in that when you come out of a bye week, you're also playing a team that's coming out of the bye week just to keep the competition as level as possible. I think that they were happy to have gotten away from the game, but coming into, playing the game that they did yesterday, they were disappointed with the effort that was put forward coming out of a bye week.
Amanda Stein is with us. She is the New Jersey Devils All Access host and reporter. At Amanda C. Stein is how you follow her on Twitter. Devils fell on Saturday to the Philadelphia Flyers after coming out of their bye week, trying to snap a 6-game losing skid. So special teams, that's one area that will be concentrated on, and understandably so for the New Jersey Devils, because their special teams were so good early on. That was one of the keys to their success. And something that we are still seeing with the New Jersey Devils, I know you mentioned that it's a bit tough getting your legs back into it, but this is a team that is a speed team, and that is one of their strengths that they have used through the first half of the season.
It absolutely is. And one of the interesting things when I look at the schedule, when I look at the team that they have, and I look at the speed that they have, is that we have to keep in mind that a lot of the speed on this team comes from the really young talent. And you're talking about young talent that probably haven't played this many games over this short amount of time ever in their careers, whether it's in junior or in college or wherever they played their minor hockey. So there's also this, not only are you dealing with the grind of an NHL season, but their speed is taking a toll, I would imagine, because some of these young players are still adapting to the NHL schedule and, how rigorous it actually is. So you're absolutely right. The speed was their biggest asset at the beginning of the season. We're seeing a little bit of a slower pace game, and I imagine at today's practice and tomorrow's practice that we're going to see Coach John Hynes absolutely work this team to the bone to remind them of what their identity is. That's the word that we've heard all year long, is we have to remember what our identity is and play to that. That's what made them successful at the beginning of the year, and you're absolutely right. That starts with their speed.
High-tempo practice is coming for the New Jersey Devils over the next couple of days as they get set for their contest upcoming on Tuesday. You talked about Taylor Hall and his post-game comments. He is far and away leading the team in points and goal scoring, but he's not just leading the team that way. By those comments and judging by his actions on the ice and just his overall demeanor, he has clearly become one of the leaders, if not the leader, on this Devils squad.
I would have to agree with that, and I would add to that, he has become a New Jersey Devil. I think last year he was still, I wasn't here last year, but from the outside looking in and from having dealt with Taylor this year, I can see that he has now embraced that he is a New Jersey Devil, whereas last year he may still have been in a little bit of shock, having been traded from Edmonton to New Jersey and still trying to find his way and where he fits in with this team. being more comfortable, being a year older, always helps. And you're seeing him being a vocal guy in the room, a guy who, no matter what situation in terms of how a game ends, if I ask to speak to him, he will always be there. He will always be really thoughtful and honest in his comments. And you're seeing him develop into a leader of this team and potentially their next captain.
Yeah, and that's especially important when you do have so many young players. He's not exactly old himself, but when you have so many young players and a number one overall pick and Nico Hischier coming in, someone who can follow Taylor Hall's lead and become a great New Jersey Devil for years to come as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a lot of really strong talent, and you're absolutely right in terms of he's not an old guy. He just turned 26 years old. There's a lot of people, or there's a lot of players for other players to lean on in terms of experience, whether it's Hall or someone like Brian Boyle. But for Nico Hischier to have another one overall pick, they're going through a similar thing, having gone through a similar thing, I'm sure absolutely helps. But Nico Hischier is this interesting case because he's just such a humble human being. And I think it starts with his family. I've had the luxury of speaking to his family on a number of occasions, and they've just instilled a really good set of morals and values in this young kid. And you're seeing that in the locker room. You're seeing that with how he talks to the media or any fan that greets him. He is just a remarkable young man and a high-quality talent at that that's going to be a major part of this New Jersey team for a long time coming. I mean, he just turned 19 years old, and he's second in scoring on the New Jersey Devils. Yeah,
that's a pretty good rookie season for Nico Hischier so far in a Devils uniform. Another player that has come over to the New Jersey Devils this year, and I suspect has also taken a little time to get settled in, is Sami Vatanen, who was acquired for Adam Henrique a bit earlier in the season. Has he settled into the routine and been as settled as you can possibly be after being traded midseason?
I think there's a little bit more of settling to go for Sami Vatanen. I mean, he came in a really difficult position because he was traded for a fan favorite. So on the outside, which is Adam Henrique. So from the outside, it's a lot of pressure to live up to a fan favorite or trying to replace them. But he's not doing that. He's a defenseman, and he's trying to be as reliable a defenseman as possible. He has had a lot of ups and downs, I would say, but he now has a regular partner that he's playing with, and I think that's going to help. What he did to the defense is give them the opportunity to settle into defensive partners so that they weren't constantly mixing and matching. He's been playing with John Moore, and I think that really helps not only Sami in terms of having a consistent partner, but the defense in general, not having to mix and match all the time.
Yeah, that certainly helps if you have a regular partner that you can lean on. What about the goaltending? Just before I let you go, I want to ask about the goaltending. Corey Schneider has been worked pretty hard in the first half, but not outrageously hard. Is it probably going to be the same or maybe even a little more Corey Schneider in the second half of the season as you see it?
I think over the course, at the very least, of the next 6 weeks, we're going to see mostly Corey Schneider, and that's because you've got a schedule where at the beginning of the year, the Devils really didn't play against their Metropolitan Division opponents, and now almost every single game they're going to face over the next 6 weeks, save for maybe 3 or 4 games, are against their division. And so I think they're going to be relying heavily on Corey Schneider going forward here. The thing with Keith Kincaid is that previous to his last start, he had been giving up goals left, right, and center. And right now the games mean so much because the cushion that they built at the beginning of the year, building up all those points, is now gone. This winless streak they've been on, they've used their cushion. So now they really need to commit to winning these games, and the best opportunity for them to do that is to have Corey Schneider in net, who is, by the way, having a really strong comeback season after the disappointing year he had last year.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's been another one of the reasons the Devil have been so successful in the first half. Amanda Stein, All Access host and reporter for the New Jersey Devils, at Amanda C. Stein, to follow her on Twitter. Good stuff this morning, Amanda. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Thank you for having me, and anytime, just give me a call.
You got it. Appreciate it. Amanda Stein covering the New Jersey Devils. It's a great point about Sammy Vatanen of the New Jersey Devils getting settled in, finding a regular defense partner, and the player he was traded for, which is sometimes overlooked when players are dealt. Adam Henrique was a really popular player for the New Jersey Devils. It just became such a move that was necessary, it seems, for both parts. I think Adam Henrique works out really well as a member of the Anaheim Ducks, and I think Sammy Vatanen fits in really nicely with the New Jersey Devils defense corps, which needed a little bit of help. It sure didn't help Sammy Vatanen that shortly after the deal was made, Adam Henrique shows up in an Anaheim Ducks uniform and scores a goal that has been repeated over and over and over and will be repeated over and over and over again for the balance of this season and probably into next year. One where he flips the puck up in the air, skates by Vatanen, goes in. Yeah, that doesn't help the settling in process if you're Sammy Vatanen. We'll see what happens with the New Jersey Devils, but they got to snap this losing skid 6 in a row. The Metro division is super tight, and as Amanda said, they've kind of given up that little cushion that they had. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Tom Guilitti of the NHL will join us. Of NHL.com will join us later on this hour. Joe Haggerty from NBC Sports Boston will join us to talk about those sizzling Boston Bruins. And of course, it's Sunday, and Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, will be with us as well. Lots to get to. Sunday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 D's. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at hockeyunfiltered.com and streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app. You can download it now at the App Store. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Busy program. Tom Guilitti from NHL.com is going to join us later on this hour. Lots to get into. Tom covers the Northeastern region for NHL.com, and there's a whole bunch of interesting stories. Joe Haggerty coming up as well. He covers the Boston Bruins. Bees with a nice victory over the Montreal Canadiens. That was an interesting game at the Bell Center. And of course, Stephen Laidlaw will be with us. It's Sunday. He'll have the Fantasy 5 hashtag Fantasy 5. A little help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Hopefully you're doing okay. Hopefully the weekend is going all right. It's been an interesting weekend and an interesting few days in the National Hockey League. Some pretty cool games yesterday. A lot of stories that you kind of look at and shake your head a little bit, and some of the results were a little bit head shaking as well. Some good matchups in the Central Division. How about those Colorado Avalanche? Hey, make it 6 in a row. Really good for the Colorado Avalanche. I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of people, and I hope they get a little more attention in the second half, because ready for this, the Avalanche have already passed the number of victories they had a year ago, just halfway through the season. They have more victories now than they did last year, and they have more points subsequently than they did last year as well. Good for them. Good for them. Good for the Avs. Winnipeg and Minnesota, pretty good game. Minnesota was all over Winnipeg in the early going. Man, they had 23 shots in the first period. Now I'm a little leery of some of the shot counts by the home team. That one maybe got a little extra credit here and there, but it was a Minnesota-dominated first part of the game. And then Winnipeg starts to come back. They get close. They're in the game in the third period because they score an early power play goal. Minnesota puts it away. Matt Dumba winds up with a couple of goals. Good for them. Minnesota has one more game on Sunday. They will host the Vancouver Canucks, and then they will have their 5-day break. By the way, if you are going to the game, you can leave early. They're opening a number of gates early at the XL Energy Center so fans can get in, watch the Vikings football game, and then stay and enjoy the hockey game as well. Good for them. Good for them. Good for Minnesota for doing that. Some interesting matchups out west, as we talked about yesterday. Those were some of the more interesting games on the 9-game Saturday schedule. Oilers, they won versus the very difficult to beat at home, especially Vegas Golden Knights. Happy birthday, Connor McDavid. San Jose Sharks played what seems to be a last shot wins kind of game against the Arizona Coyotes. It was the Sharks that came up with the victory in overtime. And of course, we had the always interesting battle between the Los Angeles Kings and the Anaheim Ducks. Guess what happened in the early going of this one? Guess what happened when these two teams took to the ice together? Because, we've never seen this before. Ducks felt, of course, that Curtis McDermott had wronged Andre Kasha, I guess, in a previous game. So Anaheim called up Jared Boll, who had been playing in the American Hockey League. Jared Boll has just under 1,300 career penalty minutes. Guess what's coming in this game? 2.5 minutes in. Curtis McDermott, Jared Boll, they fight. All right, okay, 2.5 minutes in. That's what happens. It gets all broken up. They disperse to the penalty boxes, and they line up for the face-off in the Kings' end. So, of course, there's also Kevin Bieksa, Andy Andreoff. You see where this is going, right? The puck is dropped for the face-off, doesn't even hit the ice. And these two are flinging their gloves off and heading toward each other. So they have their scuffle and land on the ice. They're separated, move to the penalty box, and everybody lines up for the face-off one more time. Same circle. However, after the second fight and the face-off, the subsequent face-off is attempted, Nick Ritchie and Kyle Clifford decide they'd also like to have a go. After the 3 fights, 2.5 minutes into the first period, after the 3 fights are done, there were 3 minor penalties called for the rest of the game. Now, some are going to suggest that this is the great honor of the game, being held accountable for previous actions, teams and players taking care of things themselves and self-disciplining. I think it's a lot of nonsense myself. I think it's more of a mine is bigger than yours mentality. Yes, mine is bigger than yours. I think you can follow along there. Fighting is down in the game, barely existing at the moment. The rate of fights per game, I think, is about 0.25 or something like that on a per game basis. And these two blow that ratio out of the water in the first 2.5 minutes of the game. It's we don't care. We're going to do what we want. we're going to carry on with all this nonsense. That's fine. I think if you're Anaheim especially, it's foolish. You need the points. You're trying to climb back into the playoff race in the second half. Oh, sure. Okay. Anaheim won. I'll give you that. Because they played a better game and there was a couple of goals that Jonathan Quick might like to have back. Something that might need to be looked at, though, is how this sequence of events took place and how it relates to the fighting rules in the NHL, which these two teams were completely mocking. This whole you can't fight before the whistle thing, which it sounds goofy in itself that there is a rule in the league that you can't fight before the whistle. They lined up to drop the puck for the faceoff, and before the puck is hitting the ice, gloves are flying off and guys are charging toward each other. If you fight before the puck is dropped, you get tossed. So this happened with Anaheim and LA last night. Not once, but twice. The league hates to be embarrassed. And this kind of does that. Now, technically, by the letter of the law, they are not breaking the rule. The linesman did initiate the faceoff to put the puck down between the two centers. It didn't hit the ice before equipment was flying off and guys were charging toward each other and throwing punches. But I guess technically they did obey the rule, but it doesn't look good. And how things look, the optics, that is important. This didn't look good. That's something that probably might have a phone call go to both teams and say, hey, just keep it in mind. We understand what happened and you're trying to obey the rules, but let's kind of keep an eye on this. Also from this game, Andrew Cogliano of the Anaheim Ducks was penalized 2 minutes for interference for a check on Adrian Kempe. Now, this penalty was interference. The puck was absolutely nowhere near Adrian Kempe, but this is at a point, it's early in the game, the intensity and adrenaline is still really high. In addition to it being interference, it was also a headshot. It wasn't penalized on the play. It was a 2-minute penalty for interference. It should have been a penalty for a head check. But now, Andrew Cogliano of the Anaheim Ducks is going to have a hearing on Sunday with the NHL Department of Player Safety, and that Iron Man streak that we have all watched and followed for years is in serious jeopardy. It is quite likely that it is going to come to an end because of this stupid play. And it was stupid. It was unnecessary. It was a headshot, and it wasn't just an interference penalty. He was taking a shot at his chin. It's too bad. It really is kind of too bad that this is going to end, because it's absolutely got to be a suspension. If you look at previous plays of a similar nature, obviously there's no history of suspension with Andrew Cogliano because he's got the Iron Man streak going. He hasn't been suspended before. This is still suspension worthy. If it's not a suspension, then again, much like the fighting we talked about, the optics look bad. This should be a suspension. It looks like there was a deliberate attempt to make contact with the area above the shoulders. Did he have his elbow up, pointed right at his chin? No. But there was a clear intent that there was going to be contact with the head of Adrian Kempe from Andrew Cogliano. And that's how this Iron Man streak is going to end. That's kind of a shame. Just signed a new 3-year contract extension too. I wonder if there was a games played bonus in it. If he kept the streak up? Oh, I hope not. But that was bad. The Ducks play in Colorado on Monday. That's why the hearing is taking place on Sunday. So there should be a ruling on that, and there should be a suspension that goes with it. It's not going to be long, but it's going to be enough to screw up the consecutive games Iron Man streak. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Tom Guilitti from NHL.com. In the next segment, shift back over and talk a little bit about the East. There's some good stories with the Rangers, the Islanders, Philly, Pittsburgh, Washington. We'll get into that and much more. Lots of other stories as well. Joe Haggerty talking Boston Bruins, and of course the Fantasy 5 with Stephen Laidlaw. Hashtag Fantasy 5. It's all coming up. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Lots to get into in the couple of hours today. Joe Haggerty will join us. We'll talk about the Boston Bruins, another victory on Saturday night against the Montreal Canadiens. Stephen Laidlaw also coming up with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Pleased to welcome to the program the Northeast-based writer for NHL.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Tom Guilitti NHL, and Tom joins us now. Tom, if you're okay with it, I'm probably just going to throw a whole bunch of questions at you, whipping around the Northeast and a bunch of teams. I want to start with the Rangers and Islanders game yesterday, and the display by Henrik Lundqvist going up and down the bench before he entered the game, imploring his teammates to show some passion and play better. I can't recall a thing that has been more dramatic, that kind of scene.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen that before either. I was watching on TV, and obviously the game was not going well at that point. It was 5-1, and Lundqvist was supposed to have the day off. He's playing tonight in Pittsburgh, and he had to come in the game. And the Rangers were, coming off their bye, and they were not sharp. And I think he was trying to, I don't know, get them, like you said, just implore them to get their heads straight in that game, because they weren't playing very well as far as, picking up reads on rushes and things like that. And the Islanders were having their way with them. They ended up winning 7-2.
And that's been the frustrating thing with the New York Rangers at times. It was more early on in the season that they looked confused, a bit disinterested at times. But there has been a lot of inconsistency with the Rangers team throughout the first half of the year.
Yeah, I mean, they did play. They had played better since the first month, but there's still some you've seen some games where that's kind of cut back in, and they haven't started games well either. Lundqvist has really made a big difference for them since that first month, and he's played really well, and that's the reason why he's going to the All-Star game. But it seemed like yesterday maybe showed, not that you can hang this all on Andre Pavlik, but kind of actually showed that when Lundqvist is in there playing at his best, there's definitely some holes there that they need to figure a way to clean up their play.
Yeah, and let's, on the other side, give some credit to the New York Islanders as well, who have had their troubles going into the break as well, but came back. They were what the Islanders were earlier on in the season, almost a bit of role reversal, but they were terrific. Matthew Barzal was especially sensational. Anthony Beauvillier was also really great yesterday.
Yeah, that whole line with Beauvillier and Barzal and Eberle, they really had a great game. And Barzal, as you said, 5 points, second 5-point game of the season, and that was a good game for the Islanders coming out of the break. They had scored, they had given up a bunch of goals going in. They had ended the 5-game losing streak right before the break by coming back to beat the Devils, but they had given up at least 4 goals in 6 consecutive games, and something like, I think it was like 9 out of 12 or something like that. So they had been giving up a bunch of goals, and Halak played pretty well for them yesterday. He usually plays pretty well against the Rangers, so they need that kind of performance from their goaltenders, and because going forward here, because they've been giving up a bunch of goals, and that's another case that it's not just the goalies, but they need to cut back on the goals against, because their offense, you saw it yesterday, they can score goals, and even in the games they've been losing, they've been scoring a bunch of the goals, and they need to figure out a way to keep the puck out of their net, and that was obviously a great start for them coming out of the break, the way they played against the Rangers.
Yeah, and it was some young players, as we mentioned, with Barzal, Beauvillier, who had big games, because Andrew Ladd is going to be out, and he's just been placed on the injured reserve by the New York Islanders. Bailey is still out of the lineup as well, so having some of the other players contribute, that helps the Islanders going forward.
Definitely. I mean, you looked at the game yesterday, and there wasn't a lot from John Tavares. I mean, a lot of teams focus on Tavares, and he's a great player, and he is their best player. But it shows that they have some depth. And they scored 7 goals, and it was kind of a quiet game for him. So they have that good youth, like you said, young players, and Beauvillier and obviously Barzal. He's one of the top candidates right now for the Calder, and leading all the rookies in points. So they definitely have promising going forward as far as the offensive talent that they have.
Tom Guilitti is with us, Northeast-based regional writer for NHL.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Tom Guilitti NHL. So let's shift over and talk a little bit about the Philadelphia Flyers now, who had a nice victory against the New Jersey Devils yesterday. Sean Couturier, what a season he is having for Philadelphia. Another multi-goal game. And I know Claude Giroux's going to the All-Star game, but if a space comes open, I'm pretty sure Couturier should be considered as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, there wasn't room for him with the way the format is. With there's only 11 players and 6 forwards from each team. But he's having a great season, obviously, and he's been a big part of their success. And they're back in it right now. They're only 1 point out of the wild card spot. Even when they were struggling through that 10-game losing streak they had, that was late November into December. He's been playing very well for them, Couturier, and so two more goals yesterday. And they definitely have offensive talent there too. If they can put something consistently together, they're going to make things interesting in this East wild card race and in the Metro Division, which is so tight. All those teams are so packed together. It's hard to figure out how that one's going to play out. But Couturier is one of the better stories in the league this year. Yet, if there was an opening, there was a lot of candidates, but he would definitely be one of them. Also,
yeah, it's funny that just the shift of Couturier up in the lineup to a more offensive role. A lot of people wondered about it at the start of the season, but it's proven to be the right move, clearly, for the Philadelphia Flyers going forward. I wonder if they're almost thinking in the same sense, gee, we should have done this a lot sooner, because Couturier had offensive talent, but he just was never put into this role at the start of his career, and I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, he was really seen more of a kind of a two-way, defensive forward, and he was really good at that. And I think I saw someone mention the other day that it's ironic now, he's putting up these points, and he's finally going to get consideration for the Selke this year. He's putting up all. But it's done a lot of things for them, and one of the things, they moved Giroux to the wing, and he's played really well there. He's gone to the All-Star game. I think he's one of the top 2 players in assists and up among the score leaders too. So those things, all that has helped, and that Couturier moving into that spot really is. They traded away Braden Shen, and that's worked out well for St. Louis. But maybe one of the other effects is that they pushed Couturier into a bigger spot, and he's really taken the ball and run with it in that position.
Yeah, Braden Shen's had a really good year for St. Louis, and maybe that's the short-term win for St. Louis. I think it'll be okay for Philadelphia too. Couturier's been great, and I like Nolan Patrick. He doesn't have great points or numbers yet, but I think he's just starting to progress nicely through his initial season in the NHL. I think he's going to be okay there.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine too. Like, you know, it's some different young players, different situations, and they've kind of brought him along slowly and used him in a lesser role, and obviously went through the injury problem earlier in the season. Yeah, you can't judge a lot and say, oh, well, he doesn't have a bunch of points yet. 18, 19 years old, first year in the league. I think he's going to come along. I saw, you know, I was there a few weeks ago and saw him in person, and I thought he really skated well. So I think it looks like he's coming along, and this is one of the things where you're going to have to wait, you know, next year and the year after and see where he is, and as far as, you know, what kind of player he's going to be. But I think, like you said, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I just think that the points will come and his role will grow and expand as a member of the Philadelphia Flyers. So let's stay in Pennsylvania and talk a little bit about the Pittsburgh Penguins, who had a nice victory in the afternoon against the Detroit Red Wings on Saturday as they return. An interesting situation with their goaltending again this year. Different now in that Matt Murray is missing a game or two for personal reasons. We'll wait and see how long that is. Tristan Jarry is going to go again for the Pittsburgh Penguins as they go against the Rangers on Sunday night. I think they're going to be okay in terms of their goaltending this year. I know there were struggles early on in the season, but I like the Tristan Jarry in that position. I think he'll be fine for them.
Yeah, they've always liked him, Jarry, and I think one of the reasons why they were looking at other options is they kind of wanted to make sure that he could play more in the minors, but they need him right now, so he's going to play. He's playing right now, playing back-to-back games. You know, I just saw Mike Sullivan say, you know, he got used to playing back-to-back games in the AHL, so this shouldn't be a problem with him and for him. And like you said, I think their goaltending is fine now. Matt Murray, he'll be back, and you know, hopefully whatever this personal situation is resolved, and he'll be back, and everything will be fine with this, whatever is going on with this personally. But I think they're kind of showing some signs right now of I think it's 3 wins in a row, and you know, you wondered when they were going to kind of wake up. They've been going, you know, they played a lot of games the last 2 years ago, kind of going through that Stanley Cup hangover a little bit. You know, they've had also some other issues as far as like, you know, they're not as deep as they were, but it feels like they're about to, you know, maybe take off a little bit here. The break probably did them good also, with letting those guys get some rest, and the big guys is Crosby's and Malkin and Kessel. We saw them again. The big three were a big game, played really well for them against Detroit yesterday. So I have a feeling it looks like they might be turning the corner, and I think, like you said, their goaltending will be fine with Murray. And he had that big game right before the break also, where he stopped the penalty shot against Boston, and I feel like kind of that turned that game for them. So maybe they're about to get out on a little bit of run here, and when he comes back, I'm sure he'll be part of that too.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh will be okay. I see them performing well enough. I think their schedule is better in the second half of the season as well. But it's, as you mentioned, it's a real super competitive Metropolitan Division, and the Washington Capitals are currently on top of it with 59 points, which is, I think, way more than anyone expected them to have at this point in the season.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I don't know what they expected of themselves. I mean, this is a team that won over the past 2 years, but they lost some key players in the off season, and they kind of went through a situation. You know, I think Brian McClellan called it the hangover without winning the Stanley Cup. They lost some guys. They lost that they thought was last year was their chance to win, and it probably was their best chance to win, and they lost to Pittsburgh again. And I think the first quarter of the season this year, they kind of were going through maybe a little bit of just kind of getting over that, and they had a couple of tough games on the road in Nashville and Colorado, and I think after that they really got back to playing the way they need to play, or really actually finding the way they need to play, because they're a different team this year, and it has helped a lot that Alex Ovechkin is having a great season again, and I think their goaltenders have played well. They've been working on some young defensemen, and they're kind of coming along. So it feels like they're ahead of schedule, or ahead of where people thought they would be. But it's still pretty. They have a 6-point lead right now. There's some games in hand to kind of even out at some point. But it looks like they're in good shape going forward. But I feel like they're still a work in progress as this season will go on here, hitting second half.
Yeah, that's good. And one more quick one just before I let you go. I'm a little worried about Columbus. How do you feel about the prospects for the Blue Jackets?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I thought, even as recently, like a month and a half ago, I thought they were the best team in the division, and it would eventually show. But here we are now, they're more than halfway through, and we haven't seen it yet. And they've gone through some trouble with injuries, of course, so that's part of it. But you like to see them start to play better consistently, and it hasn't happened yet. So I'm wondering they're definitely in this, as tight as the division is, they have some work to do when they come back from their break, and that's definitely a situation worth watching, because their goaltender has been pretty good for them, Borowski, but they haven't been as good as I thought they would be. Maybe they'll turn it on when they get into the second half too.
Tom Guilitti from NHL.com. Follow him on Twitter at Tom Guilitti NHL. Thanks for the time today. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll have you back again soon.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Tom Guilitti from NHL.com. It's a tough division. It's like the Central in the Western Conference, the Metropolitan Division, going to be really tight with Washington, who have a bit of a gap between themselves and the second place Columbus Blue Jackets. But then you got right after Columbus, you got New Jersey, you got the New York Rangers, you got the Pittsburgh Penguins in there, you got Philly and the Islanders. It is all really, really tight. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Bunch of stories to get into. A lot of stuff from Saturday's games with 9 on the schedule. We'll look ahead to the Sunday schedule, which goes early, including a morning start in Chicago. Yeah. Oh, coffee and NHL hockey. Breakfast and NHL hockey, whichever way you want to look at it. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition, here every Saturday, here every Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, available for download at the App Store, live on Facebook, on Periscope, YouTube Live. Don't forget about our podcasts as well. Each show available as a podcast, plus our little Saturday podcast. They drop Wednesday, usually somewhere in the afternoon, early afternoon, mid-afternoon. It's just a little midweek hockey conversation about the latest that's going on in the NHL. Little Saturday podcast. It's a bit of weekend in the middle of the week. That's why we came up with the name with the Little Saturday podcast. Check them out on our website and, of course, on the Hockey Unfiltered app as well. And you can subscribe to our podcast through iTunes or iHeartRadio. Busy second hour coming up with Joe Haggerty from NBC Sports Boston will join us. We'll talk about the Bruins, their victory against the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday night. Some good news as well for Montreal Canadiens and forward Philippe Danault, who was hit by a Zdeno Chara shot in the game last night. The puck just rolled up, went and hit him on the side of the head. He was down on the ice for about 10 minutes, removed on a stretcher, taken to hospital for observations and kept overnight. He has been released from hospital, according to the Canadiens, and is at home resting, and that is good news. That was a nasty-looking incident from the game. Chara just fired a shot. The puck jumped up off his stick and hit Danault in the side of the head. Fortunately, he seems to be okay and is back at home after a night of observations. A couple of other news items from this morning. We mentioned a bit earlier that Andrew Cogliano is going to have a hearing with the NHL Department of Player Safety, and I'm pretty sure that that is going to put an end to his Iron Man streak in the National Hockey League. He had the headshot on Adrian Kempe of the LA Kings last night. He was penalized 2 minutes for interference, and it certainly was interference, but he also happened to have significant head contact with Kempe. I'm interested to see how this one plays out. I think he gets suspended. I think you have to. Andrew Ladd of the New York Islanders has been placed on the injured reserve, and the Calgary Flames have placed Jaromir Jagr on the injury reserve as well. This, I guess, the latest chapter in the saga of Jagr as a member of the Calgary Flames, at least for the time being. Haven't heard any new updates on the exit strategy for Jagr and the Calgary Flames as of yet. But a bunch of other interesting stories and happenings from games last night. San Jose Sharks had a week off and returned to action. They were hosting the Arizona Coyotes. The Yotes lost on Friday to the Edmonton Oilers. Both teams were trading chances and trading goals in the first period. They went back and forth, up and down the ice. Pucks went in the net in the first 20 minutes. It was 3 each by the time the first period was over. Martin Jones looked terrible. He looked absolutely awful, like he was in quicksand and just kind of moving in slow motion. There were a couple of goals in this one. It's just, how are you not moving towards stopping the puck in this one? He looked bad. And I guess that's why Pete DeBoer got him out. Aaron Dell went in. And the Arizona Coyotes did take the lead over the San Jose Sharks. And then the Sharks managed to squeeze one in late to tie the game up with the full court press, goaltender out. And the San Jose Sharks come back and get a victory in overtime. They had to look at it, make sure it was okay, but it looked like it was Christian Dvorak who kicked the puck into his own net. Jonas Donskoy was flying around the ice last night in this game. Flying around the ice. This on display was the kind of talent the Sharks have seen in Donskoy and they want to see more of on a regular basis. He had himself quite a game. He was flying. Joe Thornton, ho-hum, 1 goal, 2 assists, just another night. I would also like to take this opportunity to once again highlight the poor decision-making and choices by the producers and those deciding on the lineup decisions for NHL Network. Or rather, I'm not going to call it NHL Network. I'm going to refer to it as the NHL PR Network, because that's what it is coming across as. Busiest night of the week. We're in the midst of breaks, half the league is off, but you still got 9 games on a Saturday night. Okay, so there's lots of action. There's plenty to choose from. The NHL PR Network chooses not to show all of the goals from a 6-5 game. San Jose and Arizona go to overtime and play a 6-5 game. They don't show all the goals involved. None were empty net goals, which I have given a pass on before. It's like, okay, I'll give you that. You don't have to show the empty net goals. They don't feel it's important to show all the goals. It is not because of time constraints. Oh, but there's 9 games, and if this is a 6-5 game and there's highlights from the other games to give, how can you show all of the goals? They may have to cut some of them out. You got an hour show. You got a 1-hour show and you got 9 games. This is not unprecedented. This is the part that makes me shake my head. There is time to do all this. 9 games is not a crazy number for a Saturday. The NHL Network and their in their wrap-up show did find time to include little bumpers of lead-ins for games as part of their introduction to add to their content. So yes, they showed previous goals, outdated goals, trying to promote a certain storyline of a game, but they can't show all the goals of a game that actually took place that night. Doesn't make any sense. They found time to include the same feature that they run every day at almost the same time in their show. Best goals of the week, best saves of the week. It's 4 or 5 minutes long. You run it at the same time every day. It's overkill. But the one that really got me about the bad choice, the bad decision that was made on the Saturday night show, 9 games. They feel that this is the day to run a nearly 5-minute feature, a generic feature about covering players, skilled players in a one-on-one situation. You don't do this on a Saturday night with 9 games. A bit of background. Those features are shot to be timeless. They can run at any time. You run them when you need to fill a show out. When you've got 3 or 4 or 5 games and you need something with a little meat on it and is interesting, you don't run it on a Saturday when you've already got another 4 or 5 minute feature of goals. This should be used at the appropriate time. You want people to come to you for hockey information. You want people to come to you for hockey highlights, yet you are acting in a manner that is driving them away. This is a poor decision. This is not serving your fans. Come to us. We got the best on every game, every night. No, you don't. You have the best of what's available, I guess, because you ain't getting highlights on ESPN. You're not going to get hockey highlights on ESPN other than the odd bit. Fox, not so much. Regional sports networks, not so much. Local sports, occasionally. But you're not going to get everything. Come to us. Well, you almost have to by default, but you are not serving your fans. These are poor choices and decisions being made. Oh, it's a 6-5 game. It's spectacular. You got to watch it. Tell you what, we'll show you 7 of the 11 goals. Does that make any sense? Not to me. Yet, we'll only show you 7 of the goals, but we'll show you a 4-minute, 45-second standing in a rink in a studio with guys in suits holding hockey sticks feature and discussing this is maybe the way you should play a one-on-one against a skilled player so that he doesn't embarrass you. You can run that any day of the week. You run the best goals of the week every day of the week. This is not the time. These are poor choices and decisions. Want to weigh in at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. If you need more than 140 or 280 characters in some case, Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email address. Busy hour number 2 coming up. Joe Haggerty will join us in the next hour. We'll talk a little more about the Bruins, who had a big victory against the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday night. Also coming up in the next hour, our weekly visit with Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. I was doing okay, but it kind of got away from me last night in terms of goaltending. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with more after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you missed the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with SeatGiant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Our number 2 Sunday program ready to go. We'll squeeze in as much as we can. Action gets going early in the National Hockey League on Sunday. 4 games today. 9 from Saturday, including a Bruins victory over the Montreal Canadiens in the shootout. 4-3 is the final. Boston keeps rolling. They keep picking up points. Joe Haggerty from NBC Sports Boston will join us. We'll get the latest in the Boston Bruins. And also coming up this hour, his regular Sunday visit at his usual time with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in your fantasy hockey pool from Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. All coming up this hour with a lot of other stories to touch on as well. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. We enjoy your participation and conversation through social media at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports on Twitter and on Instagram. Oh, we're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app, powered by Primetime Radio. It's a good Saturday. Nice early start to games. We had Islanders and Rangers, Pittsburgh and Detroit in the afternoon. Starts earlier on Sunday. Yes, an 11:30 a.m. local time start for the Chicago Blackhawks hosting the Detroit Red Wings. You think this might be one of the reasons the Hawks are also in so many outdoor games, because this is not the first time that they have, we'll call it, absorbed a morning start time for an NHL contest. That's early. I like afternoon games. No problem with that at all. I like the afternoon games. I think a lot of players are also okay with it. It's good. There's no morning skate. You get up, go to the rink, play the game. You're finished it out at what, 4 or 5 o'clock, depending on your start time. Just go out, have a little dinner. You got an evening of hockey ahead with you. There's a lot of people that like the afternoon start times. Oh, there's some that gripe about the afternoon start times are good, but shortly after 11:30 a.m. in the morning, that's a bit early. That is a bit early. But hey, we'll go with it. NHL teams are cycling through the 5-day breaks. Few teams have wrapped them up and got back into action over the weekend. Mixed results, I'll say. Some it's worked out okay, others not so much. I'm still not sure that this is a good idea, though. I'm still not sure. I know it's negotiated and mandated that they have this little 5-day sabbatical. I'm not sure it's a good idea for anyone. I'll keep watching. I'll wait and see how it all cycles through once everybody has completed theirs and we get through the All-Star weekend. And so, see, that's the other problem. Is you have 4 or 5 days off for the majority of the league during the All-Star break. Plus, you have another mandated 5-day CBA required 5-day break in your schedule sometime in January. I don't know if this is all good. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. I think it brings up the discussion, or should bring up the discussion, of how can we look at and approach the schedule in a different manner. If there's a better way to set up the schedule throughout the entire year. There's lots of variables you have to look at. Building availability. Right now, teams are required to submit a certain number of dates where it's possible to play games in their building. Teams have preferences. Sure, everybody wants to play on the weekend. Some teams want to start later in the day. Some teams like to start earlier in the day. You have time zones to deal with. You have travel to deal with. There's teams in the South that would like to start the season later and have it go later into the summer. You've got all this kind of personal preferences in terms of each of the 31 franchises. Is there a better way? I don't think that that's a question that gets asked often enough in life in general. Is there a better way? Instead of just following along and doing it the same thing. This was something new that's been negotiated. Okay. I'm not sure that this was the right way to go. Looking at games from Saturday, there were some good ones, some interesting schedule things. We'll talk more about the Boston Bruins and Montreal Canadiens in a little bit when Joe Haggerty joins us. Boston just keeps picking up points. Points in 12 straight now for the Boston Bruins. Good matchups out west. Good matchups out west. The Central Division's been sensational. Good hockey. Colorado Avalanche. Remember how everybody made fun of them a year ago? Well, they just rolled up another victory. Saturday night against the Dallas Stars. Sensational. 4-1 the final. An interesting note in this one. The Avalanche appeared to go up 2-0 in the game. Ben Bishop went behind the net to play the puck. Up along the boards, trying to help his defenseman out. Blake Como collided with Bishop, and he sent him kind of ass over tea kettle. But the puck winds up in the net. Now, the Stars are upset. They're all over Como. The puck winds up in the net, and the Stars wind up challenging for interference, and it is rightfully upheld. No goal. I didn't see either referee with an arm up in the air to make an interference call on the play. When it was announced by the officials that the challenge had proven to be successful and the goal would not count, they said there was significant contact with the goaltender. Usually something like that also indicates a penalty should be called. But this is another thing to watch as we make our way through the season. Usually when we have challenges for goaltender interference, it's because the play is in front of the net. Players from both sides are scrambling around. The defense is trying to clear the puck. The offense is trying to put the puck in the net. And there's contact with a goaltender. This took place behind the goal line. Interesting. Something to keep an eye on. Good on the Dallas Stars telecast for being all over it and having the graphic of the rule book section that applies in this case. The correct call was made. Good for them. Now, with the victory, Colorado Avalanche have already passed their record from last year. More wins, more points than a year ago. And we're barely past the middle of the season. 23 wins, 49 points. Jonathan Bernier has got 5 straight victories in goal, and he's only allowed 6 goals against. Alexander Kerfoot scored a really nice goal, also had an assist. Nathan McKinnon had the winner. Nathan McKinnon has been a beast. 6-game point streak with 13 points, 4 goals. Defense is much better. That is a giant turnaround that we have seen from the Colorado Avalanche this year. Now, as good as they are and as good as they have been and as good a story as it is, they're still last in their division. And I kind of feel bad about that. I don't know that it's accurate to say that they're in the fight for the playoffs. They're still last in their division, but they have taken huge strides in the right direction. Give them credit for turning it around, turning out all the noise that has been blowing at the Colorado Avalanche, focusing on what they need to do to improve. Good for them. It was a one-sided game at the start of the Minnesota Wild and Winnipeg Jets game on Saturday, but it got a little more even as the game went on. Minnesota's another team. They need victories if they're gonna get back into the hunt and really challenge for a playoff spot. Jets are okay. Jets played on Friday. They lost to Chicago. Minnesota peppered them early on, only had 1 goal to show for it, picked up a second, but then the Winnipeg Jets got a power play goal early in the 3rd period, and it's on. Minnesota puts the game away in the third. They get the win. Devin Dubnyk was good when he needed to be. Didn't have that same agitated, frustrated look that I've seen of him recently since he came back from that lower body injury. Wild host Vancouver later on today, Sunday, and then they get their 5 days off. A win would be helpful. They could really use another victory. Matt Dumba had a big night. He scored 2 goals. Get Nito Niederreiter healthy. That'll be good for Minnesota. By the way, if you are attending the Minnesota Wild game against the Vancouver Canucks on Sunday evening, the time they have shifted, the start time of the game they have shifted because of the Vikings football game. You can go to the XL Energy Center early. They're opening up a couple of doors. You can watch the game on the big screen before the Minnesota Wild and Vancouver Canucks game. So after the game against the Wild on Saturday, Winnipeg is now on their bye week. They get their week off. So here's something to watch with the Winnipeg Jets going forward. They have played 7 more road games than they have home games so far this year. Come February, they got a whole bunch of home games coming up. And the Jets' record at home, 16-3-1. Already in first in the Central, an exceptional home record, and a lot of home games left. That is a good recipe for the Winnipeg Jets. Mark Scheifele will be back hopefully soon. I'm hoping that this makes Winnipeg a little more loved, or at least feel a little more loved. Or will it still be the worst place to play in the NHL? This controversy, manufactured controversy, started a week ago. I talked a little bit about it on our midweek podcast, the Little Saturday podcast. It's too bad this became such a big deal. If you're not fully aware, the Sharks did what was supposed to be just kind of a funny little ask the players a question, which is the worst NHL city to play in. This was in advance of the Winnipeg Jets game with the San Jose Sharks last weekend. It was supposed to be fun, tongue-in-cheek, tease, playful. It wasn't in any way malicious, but it was played on the Sharks broadcast of the game, got out on social media, and Sharks general manager Doug Wilson got kind of pissed about it. Out on Twitter, out on social media, it's been deleted off Twitter. But after this, the Winnipeg, media, hysterical people got kind of upset about this and took it in a spirit that I don't believe was intended. We got people on other media outlets from the mayor's office and other government officials and the Chamber of Commerce saying how great and wonderful Winnipeg is. I get that people around are proud of their city, and you should be, but it sure seems like this thing became way more dramatic than it needed to be. Sometimes you needle someone, you tease them a little bit, but when the response back outweighs the teasing and the fun part of it tenfold, maybe you're protesting just a little much. You know what? Winnipeg is cold in the winter. There's lots of other places that are cold in the winter. Winnipeg doesn't get a lot of sun in the winter. Same with a lot of other places and a lot of other cities. Winnipeg, your city, is very, very different from San Jose. Not saying worse or better, but it's very different from San Jose. Go ahead and embrace it. Go ahead and be proud of it. If you live there and you like it, go ahead and say so. There's nothing wrong with that. But this got blown way out of proportion. You don't have to lose your mind during what is supposed to be just a little fun 45-second teasing thing. It's a question that during a media availability prior to the season, they do with a bunch of players. They ask everybody the same question, then they put it together. It's supposed to be a fun little feature. That's the way it was intended. Did you lose your sense of humor, Winnipeg? Relax over it. This was not something to get upset about. There's way bigger things to worry about than if someone says, I got to pick a bad city, I'll pick Winnipeg. And one of the reasons was because the hotel internet didn't work great. Didn't have anything to do with the city itself. Get your sense of humor back. Remember a couple of years ago Winnipeg, I thought, really hadn't showed a good sense of humor. The Jets were playing in Chicago. Adam Party was involved in a scuffle. His helmet got yanked off and thrown into the crowd, and some guy was wearing it. There was an idea put out that everybody should show up to the Hawks game in Winnipeg the next time the Hawks were in town, and they should all show up wearing helmets. I thought it was funny as hell. Oh, no, we can't do that. That got squashed. That's too much fun. That's too much sense of humor. Relax. It's okay to have fun. You tease people that you love and you care about. That's because it's teasing. It's not mean. It's not malicious. It's not bullying. It's just teasing. It's having fun. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Lots to get into from last night's game, including the Boston Bruins, another victory over the Montreal Canadiens. Philippe Danault with a head injury suffered in the game. He has been checked and released from hospital. That's the good news. We'll talk more about the Bees and their success over the last number of weeks with Joe Haggerty coming up. Also, before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with more after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis Sunday edition continues up to the top of the hour, and we're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com. Also streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, available at the App Store. Stephen Laidlaw coming up with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, a little assistance for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Pleased to welcome back Joe Haggerty, who covers the Boston Bruins for NBC Sports in Boston. You can follow him on Twitter at Hacks with Hags. And Joe, it has been all good for the Boston Bruins over the last few weeks. 12 straight games, points in all of them. Is there any one thing that you would point to as being a reason for this success? I mean, because it all seems to be going pretty good right now for the Bees.
Yeah, I think the overall thing is just that they're healthy now, and you're seeing the depth of their lineup and how good they are as far as their forward group goes when they've got all their lines going, and the defensive pairings have really gelled. They haven't had a lot of injuries, which they got destroyed with in the first 6 weeks, months.
Did I lose you there, Joe? sounds like we lost Joe. Oh, that's a shame. That's too bad because he was going so well to that point. We're getting the latest on the Boston Bruins from Joe Haggerty at NBCSports.com. Boston Bruins with another victory last night, Saturday night, against the Montreal Canadiens. Had to go to a shootout to do it. But yes, the Boston Bruins managed to find a way to get 3 during regulation and overtime past Carey Price, and then also managed to score a victory during the shootout. But that has been the way for the Boston Bruins. It's been unbelievable to watch them. At the start of the season, I was a little worried about the Boston Bruins. I didn't think that it was going to be a playoff year for them. But now, just to see the way that their young players have come together and contributed to their lineup, and they had a whole bunch of them in the lineup early on because, as Joe mentioned before we lost him there, it was a difficult time for the Boston Bruins early on with injuries. David Krejci was missing time, and a whole bunch of other players were missing time for the Boston Bruins as well. I'm amazed and I am surprised at what I have seen so far from the Boston Bruins. Patrice Bergeron has been sensational. Brad Marchand leading the team in scoring, leading the team in goals, up to 18. David Pastrnak, we've known about him for a little while and we've seen what he can do, but it's been the other young players that have come into the Boston Bruins lineup and have performed so well. Danton Heinen is up to 10 goals on the season. Who was predicting even 10 goals? Who was predicting even Danton Heinen would be in the Boston Bruins lineup before the start of the season? Jake DeBrusk came into the Boston Bruins lineup, another rookie. What is he going to be able to contribute? How much of him are we going to see? Is he going to be able to jump in and score goals? Understand we got Joe back again. Joe, are you back with us again?
I am. I'm driving through the mountains of Vermont coming back to Montreal, so cell service is a little spotty up in this area.
Not a worry at all. We'll keep you as long as we can. I was just talking about some of the contributions of the young players into the lineup. I don't know that Danton Heinen was going to be thought of as someone that was going to be a significant contributor. Jake DeBrusk is another one who's also been really good for the Bees this season.
Yeah, the bottom line to start this year was that the Bruins needed, first of all, they needed Charlie McAvoy to be what he is. He's been outstanding, Calder Trophy potential candidate, one of the best, if not the best, rookie defensemen in the league. But they also need a couple of wingers pop in camp at the beginning of the season and win NHL jobs, be significant contributors, be top 6 or top 9 wingers capable of providing some offense. And they had 4 or 5 good young forwards to choose from. They just need two of them to really emerge at least. They had Anders Bjork, who had a good camp, who is now down in the minors because he struggled a little bit after he was up, and they had Jake DeBrusk and Danton Heinen. And Heinen had a little bit of time with the Bruins last year, 8 games. I mean, he wasn't ready for the NHL, so he was maybe a little under the radar because of that. And DeBrusk and Bjork were kind of the new flashy names in camp. But as it turned out, DeBrusk, the season he put in Providence last year paid off in a huge way. He has been completely ready-made for the NHL this season. Been an excellent top 6 winger, provides pretty good offense, does a lot of the little things well, board work, playing in front of the net, and it's been a really good compliment to David Krejci. And Danton Heinen has just exploded this year. It really looks much more comfortable at the NHL level, competes on every shift, battles for every puck. There's like a little bit of Patrice Bergeron in him with the way that he plays a very smart 200-foot game. And he's on pace for about 22 goals and 65 points. So he's another Calder Trophy potential name out there as well, given he's right up there with the Clayton Kellers and the Matthew Barzals of the world as far as rookie production goes. So a great deal of what the Bruins are doing this year is based on five or more rookies that have been in the lineup, including Matt Grzelcyk and Sean Corrali, who really got the job done for the Bruins.
Yeah, since you mentioned Charlie McAvoy, and I'm always happy to talk about him at any opportunity, I think he's been wonderful for the Boston Bruins. He plays with a confidence in his own ability. He can carry the puck. He will make a smart pass. He will always seem to make the right move. And I think with his ability to take on more and more ice time, it's also helping a player like Zdeno Chara who doesn't have to play as much. So it's a double benefit with Charlie McAvoy growing into a larger role.
Yeah, it definitely is. And when they drafted McAvoy, they had an idea of what they were getting. The comparisons were to Drew Doughty at that time. And I think as things go on here in his nascent NHL career, you see that those comparisons were apt as lofty as they were. He's a workhorse defenseman that can play a ton of minutes, plays in all situations, has a little bit of physicality to him, doesn't mind mixing it up in that department, which is something Bruins fans love. Certainly he's got the skill to make plays, carry the puck, and to do some really nice things around the net, too, when he gets aggressive. You know, he's got a couple of shootout game winners for the Bruins this season, which you don't see very often out of the defenseman doing that kind of thing. He was one of the top 3 shooters, even though he didn't come through last night for the Bruins in that game against Montreal. So there's really no weakness to his game. I mean, the only thing is occasionally see him doing, he did his third period last night, because every once in a while he'll take a penalty that he probably shouldn't. But, you know, at 20 years old, you gladly take that with everything else that comes, to know that with experience, he's going to kind of lose that from his team. But they need a number 1 defenseman in the future with Zdeno Chara at 40 years old and still playing at a high level at 40 years old. And clearly they have that in McAvoy right now as rookie season. A couple of years from now, he's going to be the leader of that defense, and he's going to be a reason why they're going to be one of the best teams in the East for a long period of time.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it's going to be a couple of years before he's doing that. I really like watching him play. The other benefit on the Bruins back end too is Matt Grzelcyk has contributed nicely, and I wonder if that's kind of left Brandon Carlo sliding back down a little bit. He just doesn't seem to have been able to take that next step the way some of these other defensemen have.
Yeah, and you know, some of that is Brandon Carlo being the defensive partner with Torrey Krug, which means that he's going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting defensively, and he's going to be put in some tough positions sometimes because of how aggressive the Krug is, and I think that's been part of the issue. And life is difficult, right? When you don't no longer have Zdeno Chara as your defensive partner. Now McAvoy is playing with Chara, and Carlo's got to adjust to playing with Torrey Krug, where he's got to be more like the Chara, like presence in that pairing. So, I think Carlo still looks like he's a fine shutdown pairing defenseman. I don't know that he's made any progress as far as moving the puck offensively, honing those skills at all or sharpening them. He's starting to look a little bit more like he is what he is, which is a good stay-at-home guy that's very limited offensively and maybe doesn't have the confidence to do a lot of things offensively. But I think what the Bruins want to do, and eventually where they want to go, is they want to trade for a left side defenseman that can play top 4 minutes, and somebody that's good defensively that can move the puck, put them with McAvoy, and reunite that Zdeno Chara, Brandon Carlo shutdown pairing, which I think they'd like to get back to eventually if they can. But getting back to what you mentioned, Matt Grzelcyk, he's just really what he's done right now is kind of made Adam McQuaid obsolete in the lineup. McQuaid is healthy and has been healthy since around Christmas time, and he's not been able to get back in the lineup because Grzelcyk has been so good with Trevor Miller. And he moves the puck well. He's not a guy that's done a ton of flash things offensively, but he just gets the puck up ice quickly and gets it going the other direction. He's been very efficient and has a lot of room to grow as far as the offensive skills go. And you're talking about a Bruins team right now that's got 3 first or second year players, defenseman wise, on their back end, and they're playing extremely well. And that bodes so much brightly and so well for the future as to what their defensive core is going to look like moving forward. It's going to be a huge strength to this team, whereas a couple of years ago with Dougie Hamilton and Boychuk leaving, it was a big weakness. It's been a big change for them in a couple of years.
Joe Haggerty is with us, Bruins insider for NBC Sports in Boston. At Hacks with Hags is how you follow him on Twitter. You mentioned earlier the number of injuries that the Bruins had to endure early on in the season. David Krejci missed a whole bunch of time, so did others. But maybe the best recovery is David Backes, who had to undergo a significant procedure, but he has come back into the lineup, and he is now having a significant impact in a positive way with the Bruins as well.
Yeah, they removed 10 inches of his colon in the surgery for diverticulitis. And amazingly, he was back a month later. They thought he was going to be back 2 months. He got a month after that recovery time. Jumps back into the lineup. It took him a couple of games to really get going, but understandably so. But what you're seeing right now is he's playing the best stretch as the Bruins uniform the last couple of years. He's really playing like the big power forward that can produce, that's a good leader, that brings a physical presence that they thought they were getting when they signed him to a 5-year contract. And on that third line, he has teamed up with Dan Heinen and Riley Nash at the center to provide a lot of secondary offense so that teams can't simply clamp down and key on David Pastrnak, Patrice Bergeron, and Brett Marchand loaded up on that dynamic top line. And they've provided another offensive punch to give teams something else to think about and to provide offense when those three cool down a little bit, which they occasionally do. And you're starting to see now Krejci come alive with Spooner and with DeBrusk skating with him as well. But to have David back is healthy as a third-line component to add to the front-line centers they have with David Krejci and Patrice Bergeron on the other two lines, it makes them an extremely deep attack up front. It allows Bruce Cassidy to roll all four of his lines. It allows him to not have to play Patrice Bergeron and Marchand a ton of minutes. And really, it's made them a headache for other teams to try to cope with defensively. And you've seen it in the scores. They've in the last 11 or 12 games, they've got like 50 goals. They've outscored their opponents by a ton. Their offense is becoming a juggernaut over the last month or so. And it's because guys like David Backes have come online and really started playing well.
Okay, one more, Joe, just before I let you go. Boston Bruins currently sitting second in the Atlantic with 55 points. The Tampa Bay Lightning are top spot with 65. But the Bruins have 3 games in hand. Tampa Bay is going to be without their big defenseman, Victor Hedman, for the next 3 to 6 weeks. Is it possible that those two reverse spots?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, I don't know that they're going to be able to play as hot as they have. They're 18-3-3 over their last 24 games. I mean, they've been phenomenal. But I think what you may see in the second half of the year is maybe some of these rookies start to run into it a little bit. I mean, Charlie McAvoy's already played more games with the Bruins this season than he did with BU all of last year. The season would basically be over at this point. And the fact that they're relying on so many rookies that are going through this for the first time, the fact that their schedule gets super heavy in the second half, they have 16 games in the month of March. I think that their pace is going to slacken a little bit from what they're doing right now. I don't think they can catch the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think that would be a major accomplishment if they did. But I do think they can finish second in the division. They can get home ice in the first round of the playoffs. And I do think this is a team that's got a few rounds at least, at the very least, in this season. And people are starting to talk about them as a legit Stanley Cup contender again. And I think that's a major leap forward for the Bruins after, that stretch where they missed the playoffs a couple of years in a row. They're on the way back up again. And it's because of the core group, the veteran group of the young guys coming together into this great mix of players.
Dare to dream. Joe Haggerty, NBC Sports Boston Bruins insider at Hacks with Hags is how you follow him on Twitter. Safe travel through Vermont and back home. We'll talk to you again soon, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thanks, my friend. Take care.
All right, Joe Haggerty talking Boston Bruins. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It's only 10 points between the Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. 3 games in hand. I know you got to win the games, but hey, it's fun to talk about it this time of year when your team has been 18-3-3 in the last 24. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us before the top of the hour. It'll be Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, a little help in the fantasy hockey world for you. Back with much more after the break.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova product design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova product design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova product design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova product design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. The Sunday edition continues up to the top of the hour. Back again next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com. Streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app and on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube Live. On the Hockey Unfiltered app, you'll get our podcast as well, including our little Saturday podcast. They drop Wednesday afternoon, just a little midweek hockey conversation about the latest stories going on in the NHL. Had 9 games on Saturday, 4 on the Sunday schedule. It's kind of an interesting schedule with some good games on the matchups, good games matching up teams all week long. Detroit and Chicago with a morning start time in Chicago. Ooh, that's early, man. That's early. It was I think it was Aline St. James who was tweeting earlier that the Red Wings were up at 6 a.m. eating salmon to fuel up for the game against the Chicago Blackhawks, which faces off momentarily. That's tough. I mean, the Wings go to Pittsburgh on Saturday, and this is their first game out of the break. It's the Penguins' first game out of the break. And Pittsburgh, well, Geno Malkin has a big day. He gets 2 goals, 2 assists. Tristan Jarry plays well. Sidney Crosby has an unbelievable goal. And the Detroit Red Wings lose by a 4-1 score to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now they have to leave Pittsburgh, get on a plane, hustle their butts to Chicago, lose an hour in the time change because Chicago's on Central Time, and they have an 11:30 local time face-off. That's tough. Get up, 6 o'clock, eat some salmon, get ready, go out and play the Chicago Blackhawks. What? Really? Oh, and they didn't play yesterday? Yeah. Not to mention that the Detroit Red Wings lose a couple of players in their game to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Hellman, Abdelkader, both out of the lineup because of injuries. Man, oh man. Does this get any better or worse? Dominic Turgeon is going to make his Detroit Red Wings debut. He was called up from the American Hockey League yesterday. That's tough. That is a tough way to come back. This is another part of the 5-day break to keep an eye on. This is another part of the whole assessing whether it's a good idea for players, whether it's a good idea for teams, whether it's a good idea for fans to have 5-day breaks like this. There's usually a point in the season where teams have 3 days off. Sometimes it's 4 days off. Now you have this mandated break as well in the second half. Plus you've got, for most of the league, you have the All-Star break. So would that be 3 significant breaks in the season of 4 games or better for most players? Is that like 12, 13, 14 days off? Boy, you add a couple more, you could go and play at the Olympics, couldn't you? Oh, but they're not all in a row. Something to think about. But the injury part is the other aspect of the 5-day break. That's something that's got to be considered. With players taking that much time off, what are they going to do with it? What are they going to do in those 5 days? Well, some of them are going to take off, go to the beach, hang out, put your feet up, have a couple of cocktails, do a little fishing, hang out, little sunshine, little warm weather. Others will just hang around. Steven Stamkos went to Sarnia to get his junior hockey number retired. Other players would do some other things that are a bit less taxing. Hang out with the family, go on a little holiday if you get a chance, go to Mexico, go to Florida, go somewhere hot and warm, enjoy the sunshine. It's probably not going to involve a significant amount of training, whatever it is you do on that off week. Probably not going to be hitting the gym hard during this off week. Maybe I'll go for a little run today on the beach or outside with the palm trees blowing in the wind, get away from the cold and nasty weather and snow and stuff. But then when players come back, they gather with their teams to resume the NHL season. You get one practice before the NHL games start again for you, moving in through the second half of the season. And that one practice has to take place in the afternoon. I think it's after 4 p.m. Day before a game. So you get a 4 p.m. practice the day before a game. All right. That's what happens during the 5 days off, because this has been negotiated and is mandated through the CBA. Sorry, I said that acronym. I don't know if it's a good idea from that aspect. Take 4 days off, put your feet up, have a couple of mojitos, relax, enjoy. Okay, ready? 4 o'clock practice, you're playing the next day. I don't know if that's good. Something to keep an eye on. But you've had teams that we've seen so far come out of the break that look flat, that look lethargic, way beyond rusty. This is almost to the point of disoriented. That was the New York Rangers on their game Saturday afternoon against the New York Islanders. Isles were the complete opposite. They were skating circles around the Rangers. After Andre Pavlik had 5 pumped past him, Alan Vigneault had no choice but to say, Hank, go in there and please bail us out. We can't go on like this. So he did, but before Lundqvist left the bench, he was going up and down trying to wake his team up. I can't remember ever seeing something like that. I mean, he was verbally trying to kick his team in the ass. It was well-deserved. It was a bold move. I'm kind of curious to see how it impacts the New York Rangers going ahead, because they have a game on Sunday as well. They're going to Pittsburgh to play the Penguins, who kind of rolled over Detroit. The Rangers got rolled over by the Islanders on Saturday. How much does this affect the team going forward? No Kevin Hayes today, by the way, for the New York Rangers in their game against Pittsburgh. I'm kind of curious to see what happens and what kind of effort we get from the New York Rangers in Pittsburgh taking on the Pens. Bit of a rivalry game, yeah, sure. Henrik Lundqvist doesn't have a C on his jersey. But is he not the de facto captain of the New York Rangers? That was a really bold move. I mean, it's one thing for a coach to be chirping at his players behind the bench, going up and down, giving them a whack on the back. But for your star goaltender to hop over the boards, be putting on his goaltending gloves in a game he was supposed to be sitting at the end of the bench eating popcorn, and instead he's going up and down and blistering his team, imploring them to play better. Show some heart. Show some passion. That's a big move. I don't know how many other players can get away with that. I don't care whether it's a goaltender. I don't know how many other players can get away with doing that. It's one thing to holler at your team, one thing to have a discussion, if you will, in the dressing room, but doing it while you're skating around, getting your gloves on, ready to go in to relieve the goaltender who's had 5 whistle by him in no time, that's a big move. So I feel for the Red Wings today, too, in their game against Chicago. That is tough. I'm interested to really see how the Rangers come out of it. Other couple of games, also an afternoon contest. It's a 3 p.m. Eastern time start. Carolina Hurricanes are hosting the Calgary Flames. Calgary is finishing up their roadie before their break, trying to win another one. They swept their way through Florida, a big victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning, followed it up with a hard-fought contest against the Florida Panthers and got the win. That makes 6 straight. Will it be 7? Carolina Hurricanes are probably still stinging from the loss they suffered Friday against the Washington Capitals. With 3 minutes or so left, they're up by a goal. Oh, Brett Connolly scores to tie it. Oh, with 2 seconds left, Jay Beagle shovels the puck across the line and gets the victory. Oh, that hurts. This on the day when your new ownership group is announced and everybody's feeling good. You beat the Washington Capitals the night before on Thursday in the first half of the home and home. Oh, that's tough and frustrating. Good news about the ownership change in the Carolina Hurricanes, though. Lots of positive reviews, lots of positive talk about the things that are come, better in-building experience, better concessions, better practice facility, and the like for the Carolina Hurricanes, giving the fans more fun and more reasons to go, and giving the Carolina Hurricanes all of the resources they need to win. This is the best quote I may have ever seen from an owner of the NHL. From Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon, quote, "If we don't sell more tickets, it's not the fans' fault, it's our fault. They'll come when we give them a reason to come." Close quote. Beautiful. I love that. None of this, oh, got to get out and support your team. How come we're not buying tickets? When you give them a reason to come, they will show up. They've done it before in Carolina. They've done it in other cities. Give them a reason to show up. Good for Tom Dundon. That's a great start. Vancouver and Minnesota is the other game on the schedule. It's a late game. It was shifted a little bit because of the Vikings playoff game. And you can go to the building and watch the Vikings game on the big screen and then stay for the Vancouver game if you have tickets for that. Good for them. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. A couple other things to touch on before the top of the hour. And also the Fantasy 5 coming next with Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. Back with much more after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
Welcome back. It's Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition. Here Saturdays and Sundays, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. It's powered by Primetime Radio. Happy to welcome back to the program for his regular weekly visit. Always here to help you with your fantasy hockey pool. He is the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, where the mid-season fantasy fact book and helpful book is available for sale now. DobberHockey.com. Follow him on Twitter at Steve Laidlaw. Steve Laidlaw joins us on the line. Steve, I was going pretty good this week, but my goaltending let me down last night. Martin Jones, woo, there's another one. Woo, there's another one. It's killing me.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Jones guy, you almost have to have the Aaron Dell handcuff because Jones hasn't exactly been the most consistent option. But I mean, goaltending, I mean, it comes and goes.
Yeah, I'm just writing it out. That's okay. But good news in this week's Fantasy 5 for those that have another member of the Shark or can get him. Timo Meier is fitting in nicely right now.
Yeah, he's a really strong fit on that top line. They've got excellent playmaking from both Joe Pavelski and Joe Thornton. So what they really need is a shooter, and that's something that Meier is more than happy to do. I mean, the point production hasn't been there as much as you would hope for, but certainly he's a guy who's averaging over 3 shots per game. So we love guys who shoot the crap out of the puck. Playing with those two, I imagine he's going to pile up some more goals as the season wears on.
Name number 2 on Steve Laidlaw's Fantasy 5 for this week, Andreas Athanasiou of the Detroit Red Wings. His production has been starting to go up.
Absolutely. The past 6-7 games, he's been up around the 20-minute mark for minutes, and I mean, he's been toiling around 13 for most of the season. So he's up playing on the top line with Dylan Larkin, which is where you want to see him playing. Certainly, those two could be dynamite together with the speed and their ability to produce off the rush. Athanasiou's already got a point today, and he is also shooting the crap out of the puck lately, averaging over 4 shots per game since this minutes boost. So certainly someone who could potentially offer you a lot if he's going to stick in that top line role.
Oh, that's why we listen to the Fantasy 5. A double shoots the crap out of the puck. Kyle Opozo is named number 3 because he's playing with a good player, something you always have people paying attention to.
Yeah, right now he's been up on the top line playing with Jack Eichel. He's got 9 points in 8 games since the Christmas break, and 5 points in the last 2 games. So it's an explosive spot to be in, playing on the wing with Eichel. And so if he's going to stick there for the next little while, then that's some productivity that you could get out of the Sabres that you might not have otherwise gotten.
Name number 4 from the Fantasy 5 this week, hashtag Fantasy 5 from Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, is Jacob Chychrun on the point in the desert. He's proving to be worthwhile and worthy of some attention.
Yeah, he was banged up for most of the season. He's only played, I think, 16 games so far, but he's averaging almost 3 shots on goal per game, which is not something we see a ton of from defensemen. And I mean, Ekman Larsson's still holding down the top spot for defensemen in Arizona, but he's not been all that productive. And meanwhile, Chychrun, in more of a secondary role, is right up around that half point per game mark, which is a very productive mark for defensemen. So, if you're looking for someone, he hasn't been hurting you in the plus minus the same way some of the other Coyotes have been. So if you're looking for someone who could fit in and, not totally drain you off that Coyotes team, I think Chychrun's widely available and providing some peripheral stats.
And the final member of Steve Laidlaw's Fantasy 5 for this week, hashtag Fantasy 5, JT Miller of the New York Rangers. Chris Kreider is out long-term, and JT Miller may be the beneficiary.
Yeah, they've got him playing up on the top line with Mika Zibanejad, and he's also playing as the net front guy on their top power play unit. I mean, since Kreider's been down, their power play hasn't really been doing all that much, but we've seen it be explosive in the past. They've got some dynamic playmakers there, and Pavel Buchnevich and Kevin Shattenkirk. So, this stuff comes in ebbs and flows, and if their power play gets hot again, I think you're going to see JT Miller banging a few goals from the net front.
Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Follow Steve on Twitter at Steve Laidlaw. Good stuff as always, Steve. I will see what I can do and cross my fingers that the goaltending holds out. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, take care, Todd.
Okay, Stephen Laidlaw with the Fantasy 5. If you missed any of the names, here they are again quickly. Timo Meier of the San Jose Sharks, Andreas Athanasiou of the Detroit Red Wings, Kyle Pozo of the Sabres, Jacob Chychrun of the Arizona Coyotes, and J.T. Miller filling in Chris Kreider's absence in the Rangers' top power play unit. That's the Fantasy 5 for this week. As mentioned, it's kind of a light schedule on Sunday. The Detroit Red Wings, Chicago Blackhawks with a morning start time in Chicago. The Calgary Flames, Carolina Hurricanes, a 3 p.m. Eastern start. Calgary finishing up their road trip. They head off into their break. Carolina Hurricanes, tough loss against Washington. Rangers and Pittsburgh, they had opposite fates on Saturday when they returned from their breaks. Pittsburgh, a nice victory against Detroit. Rangers got rung up good by the New York Islanders. And the Vancouver Canucks are in Minnesota in an evening start, 8 p.m. Eastern time. They will take on the Vancouver Canucks, an 8 p.m. Eastern start. The start time adjusted because of the football game. You can watch the game in the building. That's kind of a cool thing. Show up early, watch it on the big screen, maybe have a couple of sodas, and then stay for the hockey game in the evening, kind of a football-hockey double-header. Monday is Martin Luther King Day in the United States, and that also means with the holiday, there is a bit of a jumbled schedule as well. The good news is it means there is afternoon hockey. Dallas Stars, Boston Bruins is a 1 p.m. Eastern time start on Monday. Anaheim Ducks travel to Colorado to take on the Avalanche for a 3 p.m. Eastern time start on Monday. However, I suspect they are likely going to be taking the ice minus Andrew Cogliano, whose Ironman streak is going to come to an end because he is having a hearing with the Department of Player Safety on Sunday for a headshot that he delivered to Adrian Kempe of the Los Angeles Kings on Saturday. Was penalized 2 minutes for interference, and it was interference because puck was nowhere near there, but it was also a shot where he kind of drilled him in the head. That's where a significant portion of the contact was, and that's why I think that, unfortunately, that Ironman streak is going to come to an end. I'm interested to see the ruling. I think it's pretty clear it should be a suspension, even if it's one game, because there's no history with Andrew Cogliano, because as soon as he showed up in the NHL, he started playing and hasn't stopped. It's about to come to an end, and I think it's a little unfortunate, but it is the right call to suspend him for a game. San Jose Sharks, after quite the game on Saturday, will take on the Los Angeles Kings on Monday. New York Islanders and Montreal Canadiens, 7:30 Eastern start. That is the latest start for a game on Monday on the schedule. Again, it's going to be a little weird for a week or two as teams are taking their bye week. There's the holiday on Monday. There's a few other good matchups as the week goes along as well. Dallas and Columbus play on Thursday. I'm interested in that one because both will finish up bye weeks. And also coming up on Friday, the Vegas Golden Knights are on the road. They will swing through Florida Thursday with a stop in Tampa Bay, and Friday they arrive in Sunrise to take on the Panthers. That, of course, means the return of Gerard Gallant, the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights, who are having a sensational season. He comes back to Florida to coach against the Panthers after last year's cash cab dismissal in Carolina. Okay, Florida, here's your opportunity to fix it. Gerard Gallant coming back Friday night. How are you going to handle it? I'm pretty confident it's going to be done right. Nice little thank you, nice little video tribute acknowledging Gerard Gallant and the contributions that he made to the team. If they don't, they'll get hammered for it. So expect to see that. Thanks to Steve Laidlaw, to Joe Haggerty, to Tom Guilitti, and to Amanda Stein for joining us. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again next Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Don't forget to subscribe to our Little Saturday podcast through iTunes. They drop on Wednesday afternoon. Have a great day and a great weekend of hockey. Back with you next week.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit NovaProductDesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.